Hey guys! So at this point, you should have already watched the other Ed puzzle before now. That is where the bulk of your information comes from. So if you haven't done that yet, stop this video and watch the Ed puzzle first. That is going to give you basically everything you need to know. So I thought I'd go through a couple examples just to clarify some things for you. So the next thing you're going to do after this is actually work on the Google Slides activity. It's a drag and drop type of thing. But I thought I'd just show you how iExcel works as well. Okay, so for this one, it's telling us to graph that inequality where it says x is less than 6. You're going to plot the points. You're going to select either a solid or a dotted line, and then which way to shade it. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to kind of identify that kind of thing. So I always think of this as like, okay, if I had this line, x equals 6, how would I graph it? Okay, that's the question I'm always asking myself. I basically just replace the inequality with an equal sign to start out with just to see where that line falls. So if I were to do that, since it's not in slope-intercept form, I'm just going to make an XY chart. And this is telling me x is always 6. So I can choose, remember, any y values there. So I just chose 1, 2, and 3. So if I choose x is 6, so on my x-axis I'm going to 6. So 6, 1 would be here. 6, 2. Okay, so it's making a vertical line. Okay, I can see that just from that point. Now I look at the inequality. Well, I have a less than symbol. So a less than symbol, think about like an open or a closed dot. So in this case, it would be an open dot, right? Because it's not included. So, and we're going to have a dotted line. So on iExcel, in order to make a dotted line, I believe you have to connect some points and then click on it one more time. See how those like little dashes are coming up? So if it's not included, I know it can't be a solid line because a solid line is like a closed circle and a dotted line is like an open circle. So now that it's dotted, let me erase some of these red dots here. Okay, so now on iExcel it's dotted. Now I have to determine on where to shade it. Okay, so determining where I shade it, it's always this first part here where it says x is less than. Okay, so I'm just looking at x is less than. Well, x is less than, so I'm looking at my x-axis, and the less than values than 6 would be on this side, right? So that means I'm shading on this side. So all you do on iExcel is see how that like little cloud kind of comes up. You click here, so I have a dotted line, and it is shaded to the left. Okay, we'll do a few more examples here. Let me erase this. Oh, if I could use my tools correctly, huh? Okay, so again, no matter the equation or the inequality that they give us, I always want to, that's supposed to be y. I want to think of this as y equals negative x. Okay, so again, I can put a 1 here, like a negative 1x. So in order to graph that line, I'm going to, well, the y-intercept is 0 because there's no plus anything, so I know it's 0. And then my slope is like a negative 1 over 1. So I'm going down 1 to the right 1, and I would keep going to make that line. Okay, so now I have to determine if that line is going to be a solid line or a dotted line. So looking again at the inequality, that's a greater than symbol. So greater than is going to tell me that it's not included, okay, because it doesn't have that equal to little symbol at the bottom. So in order to do that on iExcel, again, I'm going to kind of use those points to make my line. And I know that it needs to be a dotted line, so I'm going to click on it one more time to make it dotted. And if I've, accidentally did that, I could click on it again to make it solid. But it needs to be dotted. Now I have to determine where it's going to be shaded. So again, I look at this first part here where it says y is greater than. Y is greater than. So from this line that I have going on here, I want all of the y values. So I'm looking at my y-axis here. And I want all of the y values that are going to be higher than because it says greater than. So greater than would be above. So all of that part would be shaded. So I'm going to click that. So I have a dotted line and it is shaded above because it says y is greater than. So all the y values need to be shaded greater than that line. All right, I'm going to do one more. Hopefully they gave me a good one. I don't want to do this one. I want them to give me a different one. Obviously, that's not going to be right. Got it. All right, let's go ahead and do this one. So again, I always think to myself, if it were an equation, it would be like y equals negative 4x plus 6. To graph that, I'm going to start with the y-intercept, which is that positive 6. So put a point there. And my slope is like a negative 4 over 1. So I'm going down 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1. So I know that that's going to be my line. So since I'm not graphing like on paper, I obviously IXL makes the line pretty easily, but you need to at least have 3 points, just like a normal line. Okay, so I'd go down 4 one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right 1. And then I could connect to that. So when I'm looking at this to determine if it's a solid or a dotted line, it has that greater than with it. So it says less than or sorry, it doesn't have that greater than. It has that equal to with it. So it has less than or equal to. So in this case, I know it's going to be a solid line because that's like a closed circle. So I'm going to connect my dots here. Okay, so I can leave it as a solid line this time. Let me get rid of my red dots. And now I have to determine where to shade. So again, I look at only this y is less than or equal to. So all of my y values, so again, looking at my y-axis, I need all of so the line hits the y-axis right here, right, at 6. So I need everything below that, right, because it's less than. So all of the y values less than would be down here, which is on this side of my line. So it needs to be shaded over to that side, which all I have to do is click here, and that should be my final solution. Okay. One last example problem. I'll go to your activity real quick. All right, so it tells you to drag and drop each graph with the corresponding inequality. So in this case, so if I look at this inequality, it is not already in like a slope-intercept type of form. So I'm going to have to solve for y first in order to graph that line. So I'm going to kind of write over some things. But if I wanted to solve this equation for y, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2x first. Subtract 2x over here. I'm going to be left with 3y is greater than or equal to, and I'm going to put that negative 2x first. And then I have that plus 6. And then lastly, to get y by itself, I'm dividing by 3, but I have to divide this entire side by 3. So I'm left with y is greater than or equal to, well, negative 2 over 3, I can leave as a fraction. So that's like a negative 2/3 x. And then a 6 divided by 3 right here, so that's a positive 6, is going to be a positive 2. So now I'm taking this equation, now that it's solved for y, and I'm going to graph the line, decide if it's solid or dotted, and then decide where it's shaded, just like I did with those IXLs, okay? So then all you have to do on your slideshow is I would definitely graph it on paper, or if you want a dry erase board, you can have mom or dad run up to the school and I will have some for you, but you need to let me know in advance, okay? So you can send me a text or an email and say, hey, I need one of those boards and I will get one for you tomorrow, okay? Or actually today, because right now it's Monday, but you'll be watching this tomorrow. Or yeah, it's Monday, okay? So all you have to do is drag and drop wherever it needs to go, okay? Other than that, let me know if you have any questions. I will Google Meet or text you or whatever you need, okay? Have a good day.